The clear blue skies and deep turquoise seas have always been a dream destination for countless people, and the arrival of luxurious cruise ships has turned the fantasy of an oceanic retreat into a reality. Cruise companies have truly invested heavily, not only in designing diverse and exciting travel itineraries, but also in upgrading onboard facilities and services. From cozy cabins and rich culinary offerings to a plethora of entertainment options, it feels as though you've stepped into a bustling city floating in the middle of the ocean. Everything is pristine and abundant. Nothing seems to be missing. But have you ever wondered what would happen if, by some misfortune, you fell off a cruise ship into the sea? Would there be any chance of survival? And if so, how could you make it through? To answer these questions, let's dive into a few miraculous survival stories at sea together today. Our first tale begins in the fall of 2012. Sarah, along with her close group of friends, boarded the Carnival Destiny to celebrate her 30th birthday on the open water. The ship set sail from Miami, USA, embarking on a 5-day journey to Jamaica, the stunning Caribbean island. The Carnival Destiny was a massive vessel, 270 meters long, 12 decks high, equipped with every modern amenity, and capable of accommodating up to 2,600 passengers and over 1,000 crew members. As night fell, Sarah and her friends were drawn to the dazzling neon lights of the onboard bar. They eagerly stepped inside, greeted warmly by a bartender who introduced them to a special cocktail. As time passed, one drink led to another, and soon the group was tipsy, stumbling as they helped each other back to their cabins on the 7th deck. The effects of the alcohol hit hard, and by midnight, Sarah couldn't shake the overwhelming dizziness and nausea. Staggering toward the balcony, she craved a breath of fresh air. She slowly approached the railing, reaching for the handrail to steady herself, but her body refused to cooperate. Her fingertips brushed the edge, missing it by inches. Her legs buckled, and she lost her balance entirely. Her knees slammed into the deck with a dull thud, intensifying her dizziness. In an instant, she tumbled over the railing. Sarah's room was on the 7th deck, roughly 30 meters above the water, a terrifying height. Miraculously, she didn't plummet straight into the sea. Instead, she collided with a lifeboat on the 5th deck. Before she could regain her bearings, her body slipped again, rolling off the lifeboat and plunging into the frigid ocean below. The brutal impact jolted her awake, replacing dizziness with searing pain and paralyzing fear. Now, she was alone in the vast, dark sea, surrounded by endless waves. The ship's lights grew fainter as it sailed away. Sarah screamed for help, but the roar of the engines drowned out her feeble cries. In that moment, she felt the crushing weight of her own fragility against the boundless ocean. As the ship disappeared from view, Sarah was left stranded. No life jacket, no life preserver, just the deep, icy waters threatening to swallow her whole. Yet, her survival instinct kicked in. She began swimming toward the fading lights, but after several exhausting attempts, she realized it was futile. Thinking quickly, she decided to conserve her energy and wait for rescue. Floating on her back, she endured wave after wave crashing into her face. The salty seawater stung her nose and mouth, making her cough violently as her chest heaved. Fear gripped her. She felt her strength slipping away. Meanwhile, back on the ship, a few passengers had witnessed Sarah's fall and immediately alerted the crew. When her friends emerged from the bathroom and learned what had happened, they rushed to the captain, demanding the ship stop at once. However, the captain hesitated, reluctant to alter the itinerary. He speculated that Sarah might still be somewhere on board, as most missing persons cases ended with the individual being found on the ship. He ordered a thorough search, but it wasn't until over an hour and a half later, around 1:45 a.m., that he acknowledged she might have gone overboard. An announcement blared over the loudspeakers, informing all passengers of the incident and stating that the ship would turn back to its last position to search for her. After relentless efforts, the rescue team finally spotted Sarah and pulled her aboard. She had defied death after more than 2 hours battling the sea. Overwhelmed with relief, she broke down in tears. Medics performed a preliminary check and discovered she had suffered a fractured eye socket, broken ribs, fluid in her lungs, a partially torn carotid artery, and blood clots in her eyes and limbs. Due to the ship's limited medical resources, she was rushed to a hospital in Miami upon docking. After a week of intensive care and 3 weeks of treatment, her fierce determination pulled her through, and she returned home. This incident sparked widespread attention, exposing deeper flaws in cruise ship safety systems. Sarah's fall had actually been captured by the ship's surveillance cameras, but due to outdated technology, the footage was merely stored on a hard drive without triggering an immediate alert. 2 years prior, the cruise company had been urged to install a man-overboard detection system, complete with infrared cameras, laser sensors, and automatic alarms to notify the crew instantly when someone fell. Tragically, the Carnival Destiny lacked this system. Yet, amidst the misfortune, Sarah's survival after over 2 hours in the water was nothing short of a miracle. Our second story features Kay, a 46-year-old woman from England. In the summer of 2018, she boarded the Norwegian Star for a romantic cruise from Croatia to Italy. The Norwegian Star was a 15-deck ship with a capacity for 2,300 passengers and 1,000 crew members, boasting 1,200 modern cabins for a luxurious experience. Kay reveled in the ship's ambience, sipping wine at the bar and feeling utterly relaxed. At 11:45 p.m., she stepped out alone onto the 7th deck at the ship's stern, savoring the sea breeze. Suddenly, she slipped and fell 23 meters into the water below. After the initial shock, Kay displayed remarkable resilience. To stay calm, she sang to herself, talked aloud, and even practiced yoga techniques to remain alert while awaiting rescue. Back on the ship, no one noticed her absence at first. It wasn't until her boyfriend realized she was missing and reported it to the crew that action was taken. Reviewing security footage, they confirmed Kay had fallen overboard. Using the timestamp, they estimated her likely location, and at 2:17 a.m., 2.5 hours after her fall, the search began. Hours passed with no sign of her, and her family began to lose hope, fearing she'd perished in the depths. The Croatian Coast Guard deployed a patrol boat and a helicopter, expanding the search radius. Then a miracle unfolded. 10 hours after her fall, at 9:40 a.m., the patrol boat spotted Kay about 800 meters from her estimated drop point. A crew member bravely leapt into the water to retrieve her, as she was too weak to climb aboard herself. She was rushed to a hospital, and though exhausted, she sustained no severe injuries. Kay immediately expressed profound gratitude to her rescuers. Without food, water, or a life preserver, she had survived an astonishing 10 hours adrift at sea. Experts later analyzed her case, noting that the water temperature that day, above 20 degrees Celsius, prevented hypothermia. Kay's higher body fat percentage aided her buoyancy, and the calm sea, with minimal wind and waves, further boosted her odds. However, her fall raised questions. Some speculated it wasn't an accident. Witnesses claimed she'd argued fiercely with her boyfriend beforehand and may have jumped intentionally. Others saw her leave her backpack and passport on the deck, shedding her clothes as if preparing to leap. Kay's father revealed she'd struggled with depression since her mother's death from cancer during her teenage years, and recent emotional and career setbacks had worsened her state. Whether an accident or a desperate act, the investigation's findings were never publicized. Regardless, Kay's survival was undeniable. Our final story involves James, a 28-year-old who, on November 23rd, 2022, boarded the Carnival Valor with over 10 family members and friends for a Thanksgiving getaway from New Orleans to Mexico. The 5-day trip promised relaxation and fun. The Carnival Valor, 290 meters long and 13 decks high, could hold 3,000 passengers and nearly 1,200 crew, featuring a 65-meter, 4-story water slide and vibrant entertainment. The group was thrilled from the moment they stepped on board. At 8:15 p.m., James and his family enjoyed a lavish dinner, putting him in high spirits. Afterward, they headed to an entertainment area hosting a guitar competition. No instruments required, just air guitar moves and charisma to win over the judges. James, with some guitar knowledge, initially planned to watch, but egged on by the crowd, he took the stage. His electrifying performance won the crowd and free drinks for his family. Amid cheers, they toasted at the bar, reveling in the victory. By 11 p.m., the group returned to their sixth deck cabins. James told his sister he needed the bathroom and stumbled off, still buzzed. When he came to, James was horrified to find himself floating in pitch black water, the ship nowhere in sight, waves crashing around him. He had no memory of falling from the sixth deck. Glancing at his watch under faint moonlight, he saw it was midnight. His dream, Thanksgiving vacation, had turned into a nightmare. The cold water stung his face, and his hearing faded in his left ear as it filled with seawater. To conserve energy, he shed his clothes, knowing survival odds at sea were slim. Yet, he refused to give up, staying calm and searching for a way to save himself. Sometime later, he spotted a faint light in the distance and swam toward it, only to find it unreachable, like a mirage. By 3 a.m., after 3 hours in the water, he encouraged himself, recalling his strong swimming skills. Then disaster struck. He swam into a swarm of jellyfish. Their stinging tentacles seared his skin, and the pain nearly broke him. But he gritted his teeth, peeling them off and pressing on. At 6 a.m., sunrise pierced the darkness, revealing another distant light. He swam toward it, but high waves and fierce winds pushed him back. When the sea calmed, the light vanished. By 10:15 a.m., after over 10 hours adrift, thoughts of his 9-year-old daughter fueled his prayers for a miracle. At 1 p.m., 13 hours in, a massive sea creature, possibly a shark, approached, its dorsal fin slicing the water. James thrashed and shouted, splashing to scare it off. To his relief, it lost interest and swam away. Realizing fighting the current was draining him, he let the waves carry him, conserving strength. Hunger and thirst gnawed at him, his throat parched, his tongue swollen. In desperation, he sipped seawater, only to gag and vomit. Then a piece of bamboo drifted near. He chewed it, and though it offered little moisture, it eased his burning throat like a lifeline. By 3 p.m., after endless hours of fear and exhaustion, hope flickered. A massive ship loomed on the horizon. His heart raced as he waved and screamed, but it sailed past, oblivious. Tears streamed down his face as dusk fell, and his body trembled from the dropping temperature and fatigue. His skin blistered from prolonged submersion. Meanwhile, his family hadn't noticed his absence, assuming he was sleeping. It wasn't until noon the next day that they realized he was gone and alerted the crew. A search commenced across 6,000 square nautical miles in the Gulf of Mexico, teeming with dangerous marine life. James's odds looked bleak, but at 8 p.m., 20 hours after his fall, the rescue team spotted him with infrared cameras and floodlights. Barely conscious, he thought it was a hallucination until the light grew blindingly close. With his last ounce of strength, he swam toward it and was hauled aboard, collapsing in relief. Rushed by helicopter to a hospital, doctors marveled at his resilience. After 5 days of intensive care, he'd lost 9 kilograms and bore numerous injuries, but he survived. Without insurance, his medical bills soared, but his story hit the news, and a crowdfunding campaign led by his sister rallied support from strangers moved by his ordeal. In an interview, James admitted lingering fear but felt overwhelming gratitude. His daughter's image had anchored him through those 20 hours, her love driving him to defy death. He'd faced jellyfish, witnessed a breathtaking sunrise, and even composed music in his head to stay sane. In his final 15 minutes awaiting rescue, he told himself, "You've made it nearly 20 hours. What's 15 more minutes?" A note he later found in his luggage read, "Life is a beach. Enjoy the waves." When asked if he'd cruise again, he said yes without hesitation, believing his survival was a sign of a greater purpose, though he'd steer clear of railings for a while. The cruise company stated that all public areas had standard safety railings to prevent falls, suggesting James's incident involved climbing over one. an action he couldn't recall. They offered no further comment. The ocean is breathtaking yet perilous, and Sarah, Kay, and James each showcased extraordinary self-rescue skills and willpower. So, back to our initial question. If you fell off a cruise ship, could you survive? I believe yes, though the odds are slim. It hinges on factors like health, swimming ability, water temperature, and environmental conditions. Unofficial stats from a cruise consultancy suggest about 19 people fall overboard annually, with a survival rate below 30%. The best advice? Don't fall. Stick with your group and keep an eye on each other. A simple act could save a life. As a criminal psychologist, I'd add this perspective. These stories reveal not just physical endurance, but the psyche's role in survival. Sarah's quick shift to conserve energy, Kay's self-soothing techniques, and James's optimism amid despair highlight how mental fortitude can tip the scales. Kay's case hints at possible intent, reflecting how emotional distress can drive extreme behavior. A reminder that beneath the luxury of a cruise, human vulnerabilities persist. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and I'll see you in the next story. Goodbye.